All right. Let's dive into this
Okay.
collection of 100 quotes that you sent our way. I know you're looking for a way to absorb some serious wisdom without getting bogged down.
Yeah.
So we're going to handpick some of the most thought-provoking ones and see how they can apply to your life.
That's the beauty of quotes. Like they're
Yeah.
concentrated wisdom, little sparks that can ignite big changes in how we think and act.
Right. Okay, this first one from Benjamin Franklin really grabbed me. Some people die at 25 and aren't buried until 75. It's a bit morbid,
Yeah.
but man, does it make you think.
It's fascinating how Franklin contrasts simply existing with truly living. He's not talking about physical death, but the death of our dreams, our passions, our drive to grow.
Right.
It's a call to ask ourselves, am I truly engaged in life or am I just going through the motions?
I think we've all had those moments where we feel like we're stuck in a rut. This quote is like a wake-up call to examine if we're living in alignment with our values and pursuing what truly matters to us.
Absolutely. And speaking of values, this next quote from John D. Rockefeller Sr. really adds to that. If your only goal is to become rich, you will never achieve it.
Coming from one of the richest guys ever, that's kind of unexpected.
Exactly what's so insightful is that Rockefeller understood that true wealth goes way beyond money. It's about living a life of purpose, meaning, and contribution. I think it ties in with a lot of what we see today with the minimalist movement and people prioritizing experiences over possessions.
Right.
There's a growing body of research that suggests that intrinsic goals, the things we do for personal satisfaction and growth, are far more fulfilling than simply chasing external rewards like wealth or status.
Yeah, it reminds me of that saying, money can buy you a bed but not sleep.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, think about what truly motivates you. Are your goals focused on accumulating stuff, or are they driven by a deeper sense of purpose?
And to shift gears a bit, let's delve into the realm of relationships with this gem from Ernest Hemingway. When people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen. It's so simple, yet so profound.
I have to admit, I struggle with this one sometimes. I get so caught up in thinking about what I'm going to say next that I miss what the other person is really trying to communicate.
It's something we all grapple with. Our minds are constantly racing, but truly listening is a skill that can transform our relationships.
Right.
It's about being present in the moment, quieting our internal chatter, and focusing our attention on the speaker. There are some great techniques you can use to become a better listener, like mirroring, where you reflect back what you hear the speaker saying, or summarizing, where you briefly recap their main points.
Those are great tips. I'm definitely going to try those out. Okay, this next quote speaks to those moments when we're hesitant to take a leap of faith. Better to jump and make a mistake than sit there too frightened to make a move. Richard Templar really nailed it with this one.
What's fascinating here is the emphasis on action over inaction. Templar is encouraging a growth mindset, reminding us that mistakes are inevitable and often provide the most valuable learning experiences. In fact, many successful entrepreneurs and innovators will tell you that their biggest breakthroughs came after a series of failures. They learned from those mistakes, adapted, and ultimately achieved greater success.
It makes me think about all the times I've held myself back because of fear. What if I had taken more chances? What opportunities might I have missed? What about you? Have you ever taken a leap of faith that resulted in an unexpected positive outcome?
Oh, absolutely. Earlier in my career, I was terrified of public speaking. I would avoid any opportunity to present my work, but then I was invited to give a talk at a small conference, and I was so nervous, but I decided to face my fear.
Yeah.
And you know what? It wasn't nearly as bad as I had imagined. In fact, I ended up enjoying it. That experience really boosted my confidence, and now I actually seek out opportunities to speak.
That's a great example of how pushing past our comfort zones can lead to unexpected growth. Okay, let's talk about habits. F.M. Alexander said, "People do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures." Powerful stuff.
What's so profound about this quote is the recognition that our daily actions, those seemingly small choices we make, consistently have a compounding effect over time. It's like the interest you earn on an investment. Small, consistent contributions can lead to significant gains over the long term.
It makes you realize that building positive habits, even if they seem insignificant at first, can be incredibly powerful. Like if you commit to reading just 30 minutes a day, think about how much knowledge you could accumulate over a year, let alone a decade.
Exactly. And on the flip side, negative habits can have a detrimental impact over time. It's about being mindful of the choices we make each day and asking ourselves if they're leading us towards the future we envision for ourselves.
This next quote is sure to spark some debate. Robert Greene said, "Never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies." Now, I know this one sounds a bit harsh, but I don't think he's advocating for being distrustful or manipulative.
You're right. Green, known for his work on power dynamics, is suggesting that understanding the motivations and strategies of those who might oppose us can be just as valuable as relying solely on our allies. It's about being strategically aware of the different players in the game, so to speak.
So it's not about being paranoid or suspicious of everyone, but rather being aware of potential challenges and different perspectives. Like that saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Exactly. And this next quote takes us in a completely different direction. It's a Japanese proverb that says, only staying active will make you want to live 100 years.
I love this one because it emphasizes the importance of not just living a long life, but living a life full of vitality and energy. It's about finding activities that make you excited to get out of bed each morning.
It really highlights the connection between physical activity and overall well-being. Regular exercise has been shown to have numerous benefits, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. It can boost our mood, increase our energy levels, improve our sleep, and even sharpen our cognitive function.
I know for me, when I'm exercising regularly, I just feel so much more alive and engaged in everything I do. It's like my brain is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
What about you? What activities help you stay energized and feeling your best?
You know, I find that even something as simple as a daily walk in nature can make a huge difference. It clears my head, reduces stress, and gives me a chance to connect with the world around me. I also try to incorporate strength training a few times a week, which helps me feel more grounded and resilient.
Okay, this next quote is about the importance of nourishing our minds and bodies. You are what you eat and read. Maya Corrigan really hit the nail on the head with this one.
It's such a powerful reminder that we are literally what we consume both physically and mentally. The food we eat provides the building blocks for our physical health, while the information we absorb through reading shapes our minds and expands our knowledge.
You know, it's like that old saying, garbage in, garbage out. If we're constantly filling ourselves with junk food and mindless entertainment, it's going to show up in our energy levels, our mood, and our overall well-being.
Absolutely, and I think it's important to note that reading in this context can encompass a wide range of activities, from books and articles to podcasts and documentaries.
Right.
The key is to be intentional about the information we're consuming and to seek out sources that nourish our minds and inspire us to grow.
This next quote is all about self-care. Fall in love with taking care of yourself. Fall in love with becoming the best version of yourself, but with patience, with compassion, and respect to your own journey. S. McNutt really captured the essence of self-love with this one.
I love how this quote reframes self-care as an act of self-love, reminding us that treating ourselves with kindness and patience is essential for growth and well-being.
I think so many of us struggle with this, especially in today's fast-paced, achievement-oriented culture. We're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us we need to be doing more, achieving more, and striving for perfection.
It's so important to remember that self-improvement is a journey, not a destination. There will be setbacks, there will be challenges, and that's okay. The key is to keep moving forward one step at a time and to celebrate our progress along the way.
This next quote from J.P. Morgan speaks to that idea of taking action. The first step toward getting somewhere is to decide that you are not going to stay where you are.
It's such a simple yet profound truth. So often we get stuck in a rut, comfortable with the familiar, even if it's not serving us well. But change requires a conscious decision to move forward, to step outside of our comfort zone and embrace the unknown.
It makes me think of those moments when you're standing at the edge of a diving board, hesitant to jump. You know, you want to do it, but there's that fear holding you back.
Yeah.
But once you make the decision to jump, you're committed, and there's no turning back.
Exactly. It's that initial decision, that commitment to change that sets everything in motion.
Right. This next quote from Robert T. Kiyosaki emphasizes the incredible power of our minds. The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. If it's trained well, it can create enormous wealth.
What I find fascinating is that Kiyosaki isn't just talking about financial wealth here.
Right.
He's talking about abundance in all areas of life.
Yeah.
Our minds are capable of incredible feats, but they require training and nurturing just like any other muscle.
It makes me think of the concept of neuroplasticity, the idea that our brains are constantly changing and adapting based on our experiences and the information we feed them.
Right.
If we're constantly feeding our minds with negativity, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs, it's going to shape our reality in a way that holds us back.
Absolutely. But the good news is that we have the power to choose more positive and constructive thoughts.
Right.
By cultivating a growth mindset, focusing on solutions, and surrounding ourselves with positive influences, we can rewire our brains for success and create a reality that reflects our highest aspirations.
This next quote speaks to the importance of prioritizing our mental well-being, even if it means making tough choices. Learn to choose your mental health over old attachments. Hannah Shabar really hit a nerve with this one.
This quote is so important because it reminds us that sometimes letting go of relationships or situations that no longer serve us is essential for our own well-being.
I think it's particularly relevant in today's world where we're constantly connected through social media and technology.
Yeah.
It can be so easy to get caught up in the drama and negativity of online interactions, even if they're draining our energy and bringing us down.
You're right, and sometimes the most loving act we can do for ourselves is to create boundaries, to step away from those relationships or situations that are causing us more harm than good.
This next quote from Greg McKeown can help us make those tough decisions. If it isn't a clear yes, then it's a clear no.
I love the clarity and decisiveness of this quote. It encourages us to trust our intuition and to only commit to those opportunities that genuinely excite us.
It's like that feeling you get in your gut when you know something is right or wrong. Sometimes we ignore those feelings or try to rationalize them away, but I think McKeown is reminding us to pay attention to those intuitive signals.
Absolutely. And if we find ourselves endlessly deliberating over a decision, unsure whether to commit, it's often a sign that it's not truly aligned with our desires or values.
This next quote from Vex King is a great reminder of the importance of taking action. Procrastination will delay your dreams.
It's such a simple truth, yet so many of us struggle with procrastination. We put things off, telling ourselves we'll do them later, but later often never comes.
I know I'm guilty of this. Sometimes I get overwhelmed by a task and convince myself I need the perfect conditions to get started, but then I end up wasting so much time and energy just thinking about it instead of actually doing it.
Procrastination often stems from fear, perfectionism, or a lack of clarity about our priorities.
Right.
Overcoming it requires identifying the root cause and then taking deliberate steps to break the cycle.
So if you're listening and you find yourself procrastinating, take a moment to ask yourself, what's really holding me back? Is it fear of failure? Am I trying to do too much at once? Or do I need to break this task down into smaller, more manageable steps?
This next quote offers a practical strategy for making the most of our time. Reading an hour a day is only 4% of your day, but that 4% will put you at the top of your field within 10 years. Find the time. That's from Patrick Bet-David.
I love how this quote emphasizes the power of consistent, even small investments in our personal and professional development. It's like the saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. And when it comes to learning, consistency is key. An hour a day may not seem like much, but over time, it can lead to significant gains in knowledge, skills, and expertise.
It reminds me of the story of Warren Buffett, who is said to spend several hours each day reading.
Wow.
He attributes much of his success to his commitment to lifelong learning.
That's a great example of how even the most successful individuals prioritize continuous learning. It's not something you do once and then check off your list. It's an ongoing process that requires dedication and discipline.
This next quote is a bit more assertive. May God have mercy upon my enemies because I won't. That's George S. Patton, the famous World War II general.
It's certainly a provocative statement, but it reflects Patton's unwavering determination and his refusal to be underestimated or outmaneuvered.
You know, I think it's important to understand the context of this quote. Patton was a military leader operating in a high-stakes competitive environment.
Exactly. It's not necessarily advocating for ruthlessness or vengeance. It's about being strong and decisive in the face of adversity, especially when the stakes are high.
Okay, let's talk about the company we keep. Oprah Winfrey said, surround yourself only with people who are going to lift you higher. Wise words from a wise woman.
This quote speaks to the profound impact our social circle has on our well-being and success.
Right.
The people we spend time with can either elevate us or drag us down.
It makes me think of that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If we surround ourselves with negativity, criticism, or cynicism, it can be difficult to maintain a positive outlook and pursue our goals with enthusiasm.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to be intentional about the company we keep. Choose to spend time with individuals who inspire you, support your growth, and challenge you to be your best self.
This next quote from Naval Ravikant offers a helpful rule of thumb for decision-making. If you cannot decide, the answer is no.
I love the simplicity and clarity of this quote. It encourages us to trust our gut instincts and to avoid getting bogged down in endless deliberation.
Our time and energy are precious resources. If we're constantly second-guessing ourselves or trying to analyze every possible outcome, we can end up feeling paralyzed and indecisive.
Exactly. And often when we find ourselves endlessly waffling over a decision, it's a sign that we're not truly convinced or excited about the option at hand.
This next quote is a great reminder to maintain an optimistic outlook. You'll never find a rainbow if you're looking down. Charlie Chaplin really captured the importance of perspective with this one.
It's such a beautiful metaphor for the power of perspective. If we're constantly focused on the negative, we're likely to miss out on the beauty and opportunities that surround us.
I think it's especially important to remember this during challenging times. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity, but choosing to focus on solutions, possibilities, and the brighter side of life can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And sometimes simply shifting our physical perspective can help shift our mental perspective as well. Looking up at the sky, taking a walk in nature, or even just changing our posture can help us see things in a new light.
This next quote from Robert Greene is all about effective communication. Always say less than necessary.
This quote emphasizes the power of brevity and precision in our words. In a world of information overload, it's more important than ever to convey our message clearly and concisely.
I think it's particularly relevant in today's digital age where we're constantly bombarded with messages and information.
Yeah.
To stand out and make an impact, we need to be able to communicate our ideas in a way that is clear, concise, and memorable.
Absolutely, and sometimes less is more. By choosing our words carefully and avoiding unnecessary jargon or filler words, we can make our communication more impactful and ensure that our message is truly heard.
This next quote from Nelson Mandela speaks to the power of belief and the importance of pushing beyond our perceived limitations. It always seems impossible until it is done.
This quote is a testament to the power of human ingenuity and determination.
Right.
What may seem insurmountable at first can often be achieved with persistent effort and a refusal to give up.
It makes me think of all the groundbreaking achievements throughout history, from the invention of the airplane to the landing on the moon.
Wow.
These feats were once considered impossible, but someone dared to challenge the status quo and pursue their vision with unwavering determination.
That's a great point, and I think it's important to remember that those who achieve great things often face countless obstacles and setbacks along the way. What sets them apart is their resilience, their ability to learn from their mistakes, and their unwavering belief in the possibility of success.
This next quote from Doug Cartwright offers a beautiful reminder to stay hopeful and embrace the unknown. Remember, some of the best times of your life haven't even happened yet.
It's such a hopeful and uplifting message. It encourages us to stay open to new experiences and to believe that the future holds wonderful possibilities.
It's a reminder that life is a journey full of surprises.
Yeah.
We may experience disappointments and setbacks along the way, but there's always something to look forward to.
Absolutely. And sometimes the most unexpected moments turn out to be the most memorable and meaningful.
This next quote is all about the importance of stepping outside of our comfort zones. A ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. John Hachette really captured the spirit of adventure with this one.
It's a powerful metaphor for the importance of growth and the need to push beyond the familiar to reach our full potential. While comfort and security have their place, true fulfillment often lies in venturing beyond the safe harbor of our comfort zone.
It makes me think of those travel shows where people quit their jobs, sell their belongings, and embark on incredible adventures around the world.
Yeah.
They're taking a risk stepping outside of their comfort zones, but they're also creating memories and experiences that will last a lifetime.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical adventures. It can also be about taking risks in our personal lives, our careers, or our creative pursuits.
This next quote from Viktor Frankl offers a profound insight into human behavior. When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure.
This quote speaks to the human need for purpose and meaning. When we lack a sense of direction or fulfillment in our lives, we may seek temporary solace in distractions or fleeting pleasures.
It's like that feeling of emptiness or dissatisfaction that can creep in when we're not living in alignment with our values or pursuing our passions.
Right.
We might try to fill that void with material possessions, entertainment, or unhealthy habits, but those things only provide temporary relief.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true happiness and contentment stem from aligning our actions with our values and pursuing goals that give our lives purpose.
So if you're listening, take a moment to ask yourself, what brings you a sense of meaning? Are you actively pursuing those activities or goals? If not, what steps can you take to reconnect with your passions and infuse your life with greater purpose?
This next quote from Montaigne challenges us to confront our fears head on. A man who fears suffering is already suffering from what he fears.
This quote highlights the paradoxical nature of fear. By dwelling on our anxieties and avoiding what we fear, we actually amplify our suffering.
It's about recognizing that fear is often a product of our imagination, and the reality of facing our fears is rarely as bad as we anticipate.
I've found that the more I avoid something I'm afraid of, the bigger and scarier it becomes in my mind. But when I finally face that fear, I often realize it wasn't nearly as bad as I had imagined.
That's a great point. And sometimes the act of facing our fears can be incredibly empowering. It can help us realize that we're stronger and more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
This next quote is from Tyler Durden, a fictional character from the film and novel Fight Club. We work jobs, we hate to buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like. Now, I know this might rub some people the wrong way, but I think it's a valid point. This quote, while delivered by a fictional character, raises important questions about our values, priorities, and the societal influences that shape our choices.
You're right. I think it's a critique of consumerism and the pressure to conform to certain societal expectations.
Right. Are we living authentically, pursuing work that we find fulfilling and spending our resources on things that truly matter to us? Or are we caught in a cycle of working to consume driven by external pressures rather than our own genuine desires?
Exactly. And it's a question worth asking ourselves. Are we living a life that reflects our values, or are we letting external forces dictate our choices?
This next quote from Steve Jobs is a timeless piece of advice. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life.
This quote encourages us to live authentically pursuing our own passions and values rather than conforming to societal expectations or trying to live up to someone else's definition of success.
I think it's a powerful reminder that each of us has a unique contribution to make to the world, and that our time is best spent pursuing what truly matters to us. We shouldn't let the opinions of others or the pressure to fit in dictate our choices.
Absolutely. And it's never too late to start living a life that reflects your values and aspirations.
This next quote from Aristotle might surprise some people. A friend to all is a friend to none. Now, this one sounds a little counterintuitive on the surface.
Yeah.
But there's some truth to it.
Okay.
This quote might seem counterintuitive, but it suggests that true friendship requires depth and genuine connection. By trying to be everything to everyone, we risk spreading ourselves too thin and forming superficial relationships that lack true intimacy.
You know, it's like that saying, jack of all trades, master of none. If we try to be friends with everyone, we may end up not having any truly close relationships.
Exactly.
It's about being selective with our friendships, choosing to invest our time and energy in those relationships that are truly meaningful and reciprocal.
Right, and it's okay to have a smaller circle of close friends. Those are the relationships that will provide support, encouragement, and a sense of belonging.
This next quote from Tony Robbins is a straightforward truth. By changing nothing, nothing changes.
It's a powerful reminder that personal growth and positive change rarely happen by accident.
Right. They require conscious effort, a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones, and a commitment to continuous learning and improvement.
I think it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that things will just magically get better on their own. But as Ron points out, that's rarely the case. We have to be active participants in creating the life we want.
Absolutely. And it's not always about making massive overnight transformations. Sometimes it's about making small incremental changes to our habits, beliefs, or actions that over time can lead to significant growth and transformation.
This next quote from Robin Sharma really captures that journey of change. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end.
It acknowledges that change is rarely easy or linear. It often involves discomfort challenges and a period of uncertainty as we transition from the familiar to the new.
I think this quote is so relatable because it reflects the reality of most people's experience with change.
Yeah.
It's not always a smooth upward trajectory. There are going to be bumps along the way, moments of doubt, and times when we want to give up.
Absolutely. But I think it's important to remember that those messy, challenging moments are often where the greatest growth occurs.
Right.
It's in those moments when we're pushed outside of our comfort zones that we discover our true strength and resilience.
Okay, this next quote from Maya Angelou speaks to that idea of resilience. You will face many defeats in life, but never let yourself be defeated.
It's such a powerful message of hope and perseverance. Life is full of challenges, and it's inevitable that we will encounter obstacles and disappointments along the way. What matters is how we choose to respond to those challenges.
It's about recognizing that setbacks are temporary and that our ability to bounce back from adversity is what ultimately defines our success.
And sometimes those setbacks can even lead to unexpected opportunities or breakthroughs. It's all about how we choose to frame the experience and what lessons we learn from it.
This next quote from Ivan Pavlov encourages us to seek wisdom from the past. If you want a new idea, read an old book.
I love this quote because it highlights the enduring value of classic literature and historical texts. While the world is constantly changing, many fundamental truths about human nature, society, and the pursuit of knowledge remain timeless.
It's like that saying, there's nothing new under the sun. Human beings have been grappling with the same questions, challenges, and aspirations for centuries.
Exactly. And by delving into the wisdom of previous generations, we can gain new perspectives, insights, and inspiration for our own lives.
This next quote from William James highlights the transformative power of our thoughts. If you can change your mind, you can change your life.
This quote underscores the power of our beliefs and thought patterns in shaping our reality. Our minds are incredibly powerful instruments, and the way we think about ourselves, the world, and our circumstances has a profound impact on our experiences and outcomes.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Our beliefs create our reality.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that we have the power to choose our thoughts. If we're finding ourselves stuck in negative thought patterns or limiting beliefs, we can consciously choose to shift our focus towards more positive and empowering thoughts.
This next quote from Azim Premji encourages us to dream big and set ambitious goals. If people are not laughing at your goals are too small.
This quote challenges us to not let the opinions of others limit our aspirations. If our goals are easily attainable, they may not be challenging enough to inspire us to reach our full potential.
It's about setting audacious goals that ignite our passion and push us to grow and achieve extraordinary things.
And it's important to remember that those who achieve great things are often ridiculed or doubted in the early stages. It's their unwavering belief in their vision that propels them forward.
This next quote from Jean-Paul Sartre offers a different perspective on solitude. If you are lonely when you're alone, you are in a bad company.
This quote challenges us to examine our relationship with ourselves. If we feel lonely or uncomfortable when we're alone, it may suggest that we're not fully at peace with our own company.
I think it's a reminder that true happiness and contentment come from within. We shouldn't rely on external factors like other people or material possessions to make us feel happy or fulfilled.
Absolutely. And solitude can be a valuable opportunity for reflection, creativity, and personal growth. It's a chance to connect with our inner selves, to explore our thoughts and feelings, and to recharge our batteries.
This next quote from Seneca offers a timeless reminder about the nature of suffering. We suffer more in imagination than in reality.
This quote highlights the human tendency to magnify our anxieties and fears in our minds. Often the anticipation of a negative event is far more distressing than the event itself.
It's like that feeling of dread we get before a big presentation or a difficult conversation. We build it up in our minds, imagining all the worst-case scenarios, but often the reality is not nearly as bad as we had feared.
Exactly, and I think it's a reminder to focus on the present moment. When we find ourselves getting caught up in worries or anxieties about the future, we can gently bring ourselves back to the present and focus on what we can control.
This next quote from Jordan B. Peterson challenges us to speak up for what we believe in. When you have something to say, silence is a lie.
This quote encourages us to use our voices and speak our truths even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. Silence in the face of injustice, or when we have something meaningful to contribute, can be a form of complicity.
I think it's a reminder that our words have power. What we say and what we choose not to say can have a ripple effect on those around us.
Absolutely, and I think it's important to remember that speaking our truth doesn't always have to be about grand gestures or public pronouncements. It can also be about having those difficult conversations with loved ones, setting boundaries in our relationships, or simply sharing our thoughts and feelings in an authentic way.
This next quote from Pythagoras reminds us that even seemingly simple decisions require careful consideration. The oldest, shortest words, yes and no, are those which requires the most thought.
This quote highlights the importance of being mindful of our choices. It's easy to fall into the habit of making impulsive decisions or saying yes to every request that comes our way, but our time and energy are precious resources, and we need to be selective about how we spend them.
You know, it's like that saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. By being clear about our values and priorities, we can make more intentional choices that align with our goals and aspirations.
Exactly. And it's okay to say no, even to things that seem like good opportunities. Sometimes saying no to one thing allows us to say yes to something even better.
This next quote from S. McNutt offers a practical approach to navigating life's challenges. In life, the only two things you can control are your effort and your attitude. Everything else is not up to you.
I love how this quote empowers us to focus on what we can control, rather than wasting energy on things outside of our influence. While we may not always be able to control the circumstances we face, we can choose how we respond to them.
It's a reminder that we always have a choice. We can choose to react with negativity, blame, or despair, or we can choose to respond with positivity, resilience, and a determination to make the best of the situation.
And I think it's important to remember that even in the most challenging circumstances, there's always something we can learn, something we can grow from, and something we can be grateful for.
This next quote from Theodore Roosevelt encourages us to take action with the resources we have available. Do what you can with what you have where you are.
It's a call to action reminding us that we don't need to wait for the perfect conditions or the perfect set of circumstances to start making progress towards our goals.
I think so many of us get caught up in the trap of thinking we need to have everything figured out before we can take action. But the truth is, we rarely have all the answers up front.
Exactly. And sometimes the act of taking action, even if it's imperfect or messy, can help us gain clarity, momentum, and resources along the way.
This next quote from Walt Disney is a classic reminder of the importance of action over endless planning or deliberation. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing.
It's a call to stop overthinking, stop procrastinating, and start taking concrete steps towards our goals. It's easy to get caught up in the planning phase, to get bogged down in details, or to let fear hold us back from taking action.
I think it's especially relevant in today's world where we have access to so much information, so many resources.
Yeah.
We can easily get caught up in research analysis and planning, but at some point we need to put that knowledge into action.
Exactly. And sometimes the best way to learn is by doing. We might not get it perfect the first time, but we'll gain valuable experience and insights that we can apply to future endeavors.
This next quote from Steve Jobs challenges us to make the most of each day. If you live each day as if it were your last someday, you'll be right.
This quote is a reminder of the preciousness of time and the importance of living with intention and purpose. It's a call to pursue our passions, cherish our relationships, and make the most of each moment.
It's a powerful message, but I think it's important to approach it with a sense of balance. We don't want to live recklessly or irresponsibly, but we also don't want to live in fear or put off our dreams indefinitely.
I agree. It's about finding that sweet spot between embracing the present moment and planning for the future. It's about living with a sense of urgency, knowing that our time is limited, but also making choices that are aligned with our long-term goals and aspirations.
This next quote from Robert Louis Stevenson offers a different perspective on measuring progress. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant.
This quote reminds us that true growth often takes time and that we shouldn't become discouraged if we don't see immediate results from our efforts.
I think it's especially relevant in today's fast-paced, instant gratification culture.
Right.
We're so used to seeing immediate results that it can be frustrating when things take time to develop.
Absolutely. It's about trusting the process, knowing that the seeds we plant today may take weeks, months, or even years to fully blossom.
This next quote from Tony Robbins encourages us to embark on the journey towards our dreams. The only impossible journey is the one you never begin.
It highlights the importance of taking that first step, even when the path ahead feels uncertain or overwhelming. Often the biggest obstacle to achieving our goals is not the journey itself, but our own hesitation or fear of failure.
I think it's easy to get caught up in analysis paralysis, to overthink things and talk ourselves out of taking action.
Right.
But as Robbins points out, the only way to make progress is to start moving.
Exactly. And that first step doesn't have to be huge or dramatic. It can be as simple as making a phone call, sending an email, or setting aside 15 minutes to work on a project. The key is to break down those seemingly overwhelming tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
All right, this next one from Jen Sincero really spoke to me. If you're serious about changing your life, you'll find a way. If you're not, you'll find an excuse.
That's a good one.
It's a real kick in the pants, isn't it? It challenges us to be honest with ourselves about our level of commitment. Are we truly dedicated to making a change, or are we just paying lip service to the idea?
It's so easy to get caught up in excuses, to tell ourselves we don't have the time, the resources, or the support to make a change. But if something is truly important to us, we'll find a way to make it happen.
It makes me think of those stories of people who overcome incredible odds to achieve their dreams. like athletes who train relentlessly despite injuries, entrepreneurs who launch successful businesses despite multiple setbacks, or artists who create masterpieces despite facing rejection and criticism.
Exactly. Those individuals are driven by a deep sense of purpose and a willingness to persevere even when the going gets tough.
All right, this next quote reinforces that idea of change being a catalyst for growth. Your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. That's from Jim Rohn.
It's a powerful reminder that personal growth and positive change rarely happen by accident. They require conscious effort, a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones, and a commitment to continuous learning and improvement.
I think it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that things will just magically get better on their own.
Yeah.
But as Ron points out, that's rarely the case. We have to be active participants in creating the life we want.
Absolutely. And it's not always about making massive overnight transformations. Sometimes it's about making small incremental changes to our habits, beliefs, or actions that over time can lead to significant growth and transformation.
This next quote from Robin Sharma really captures that journey of change. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end.
It acknowledges that change is rarely easy or linear. It often involves discomfort challenges and a period of uncertainty as we transition from the familiar to the new.
I think this quote is so relatable because it reflects the reality of most people's experience with change.
Yep.
It's not always a smooth upward trajectory. There are going to be bumps along the way, moments of doubt and times when we want to give up.
Absolutely. But I think it's important to remember that those messy, challenging moments are often where the greatest growth occurs.
Yeah.
It's in those moments when we're pushed outside of our comfort zones that we discover our true strength and resilience.
This next quote from Hannah Shabar offers a reassuring perspective on making mistakes. You've made mistakes in the past. You will probably make more in the future. And that's okay.
This quote normalizes making mistakes as an inevitable part of the human experience. It's easy to get caught up in self-criticism or perfectionism, but mistakes are valuable learning opportunities that can help us grow and improve.
It's about adopting a growth mindset, viewing mistakes as feedback rather than failures, and using them as opportunities to learn and do better next time.
Right.
It's like that saying, you win some, you learn some. The key is to not let our mistakes define us or discourage us from trying new things.
This next quote from Elon Musk speaks to the power of belief and determination in overcoming obstacles and achieving ambitious goals. When something is important enough, you do it, even if the odds are not in your favor.
This quote is a testament to the power of the human spirit. When we're truly passionate about something, we find a way to make it happen, even when faced with challenges or setbacks.
It's about recognizing that success often requires us to push beyond our comfort zones, take risks, and persevere even when the path ahead is uncertain.
This next quote from George S. Patton highlights the importance of decisiveness and action over endless planning or procrastination. A good plan violently executed now is better than perfect plan next week.
This quote emphasizes the importance of taking action even if it's imperfect or incomplete. Overthinking or waiting for the perfect moment can lead to inaction and missed opportunities.
It's like that saying, done is better than perfect. We don't have to wait until we have everything figured out before we start taking action.
This next quote from Aristotle highlights the importance of developing good habits early in life. Good habits formed at youth make all the difference.
This quote emphasizes the importance of cultivating positive habits early in life as they lay the foundation for future success and well-being.
I think it's important to remember that it's never too late to develop new habits. While it's certainly easier to establish those habits early on, we can make positive changes to our routines and behaviors at any age.
This next quote from Dale Carnegie offers practical advice for overcoming fear. If you want to conquer fear, don't sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy.
This quote emphasizes that action is the antidote to fear. Dwelling on our anxieties and avoiding what we fear often only serves to amplify those fears.
I found that the more I avoid something I'm afraid of, the bigger and scarier it becomes in my mind. But when I finally face that fear, I often realize it wasn't nearly as bad as I had imagined.
Absolutely, and sometimes the act of facing our fears can be incredibly empowering. It can help us realize that we're stronger and more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
This next quote from Naval Ravikant highlights the importance of pursuing a balanced and fulfilling life. A fit body, a calm mind, a house full of love. These things cannot be bought. They must be earned.
This quote emphasizes that true wealth and happiness encompass far more than material possessions. It's about cultivating physical health, mental well-being, and strong, loving relationships.
It's like that saying, the best things in life are free. True happiness and fulfillment come from within, from cultivating a sense of gratitude, connection, and purpose.
This next quote from Pliny the Elder offers a reminder of our shared human fallibility. No mortal man is wise at all moments.
This quote acknowledges that even the most intelligent or experienced individuals are prone to making mistakes or experiencing moments of poor judgment.
It's a reminder to be humble, to approach life with a willingness to learn, and to extend compassion to ourselves and others when we fall short.
I think it's easy to put people on pedestals, to assume that those who are successful or accomplished have it all figured out. But the truth is, we're all human, and we all make mistakes.
This next quote offers a thought-provoking perspective on the preciousness of time. Life will not postpone our death, so let us not postpone our life.
This quote reminds us that our time on earth is finite, and that we should not waste it on procrastination or living in fear. It's a call to embrace the present moment, pursue our passions, and create a life that aligns with our values.
I think it's easy to get caught up in the someday trap, to tell ourselves that we'll pursue our dream someday, when we have more time, more money, or when the circumstances are just right. But the truth is, there's no guarantee of someday.
This next quote from Robert Greene offers a strategic approach to persuasion. Win through your actions, never through argument.
This quote emphasizes the power of leading by example and demonstrating our values through our actions, rather than relying solely on words or arguments to persuade others.
It's like that saying, actions speak louder than words. People are more likely to be influenced by what we do than by what we say.
This next quote from Jim Rohn highlights the role of both motivation and habit in achieving our goals. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going.
This quote acknowledges that while initial motivation can be a powerful driving force, it's often not enough to sustain us over the long term. To achieve meaningful goals, we need to develop habits that support our efforts and keep us moving forward, even when motivation wanes.
It's about recognizing that motivation is often fleeting, but habits are the foundation of sustainable change.
This next quote from Chanakya encourages us to learn from the experiences of others. Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourselves.
This quote highlights the value of seeking wisdom from those who have come before us and learning from their experiences. We don't have to reinvent the wheel or make every mistake ourselves to gain valuable insights.
Right. It's like having a shortcut to wisdom. By studying history, reading biographies, and seeking mentorship from those who have already navigated the paths we're on, we can learn from their successes and failures and avoid unnecessary pitfalls.
And it's also about recognizing that we're all part of a larger lineage, a chain of human experience that extends back centuries. We can tap into that collective wisdom to guide our own journeys.
This next quote from Nelson Mandela is a classic reminder of the importance of resilience. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall.
This quote emphasizes that setbacks and failures are an inevitable part of life. What defines us is not whether we fall, but how we choose to respond when we do. It's about cultivating resilience, learning from our mistakes, and getting back up stronger and wiser each time we encounter adversity.
I think it's easy to get caught up in the idea of success as a linear path, but the reality is that it's often more like a winding road, with twists, turns, and detours along the way. So those challenges, those moments when we stumble or fall, that ultimately shape our character and make us who we are.
This next quote from Steve Jobs highlights the importance of finding work that we're passionate about. The only way to do great work is to love what you do.
This quote emphasizes that passion is a key ingredient for success and fulfillment in our work. When we're genuinely engaged in what we do, we're more likely to excel, innovate, and make a meaningful contribution.
It's about finding work that aligns with our values, interests, and skills, work that challenges us and brings us joy.
I think so many people settle for jobs they hate just to pay the bills, but life is too short to spend 40 hours a week doing something you dread.
This next quote from William Hazlitt offers a different perspective on the nature of true friendship. He will never have true friends who is afraid of making enemies.
This quote suggests that true friendship often requires us to take a stand for what we believe in, even if it means risking conflict or disagreement by avoiding conflict at all costs or trying to please everyone. We risk forming superficial relationships that lack depth and authenticity.
I think it's important to remember that true friends are those who challenge us, support us, and accept us for who we are, even when we disagree.
Absolutely. And I think those disagreements, those moments when we're forced to articulate our beliefs and values, can actually strengthen our relationships in the long run.
This next quote from George Saville speaks to the power of patience. A man who is a master of patience is master of everything else.
This quote highlights the importance of cultivating patience in a world that often rewards instant gratification and quick fixes. Patience allows us to persevere through challenges, make thoughtful decisions, and achieve long-term goals that might otherwise elude us.
I think patience is such an underrated virtue. We live in a culture that's obsessed with speed, efficiency, and getting things done as quickly as possible. But sometimes the most important things in life take time to develop.
This next quote from Dale Carnegie emphasizes that the best way to overcome fear is to take action even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage.
This quote is a reminder that the more we avoid something we're afraid of, the more power we give it. But when we take action, even if it's a small step, we start to chip away at that fear and build our confidence.
This next quote from Heraclitus offers a philosophical perspective on change and growth. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man.
This quote highlights the constant state of flux and change that characterizes both the world around us and ourselves. We are not static beings, but rather evolving entities constantly shaped by our experiences, relationships, and choices.
It's a reminder that change is inevitable, and that instead of resisting it, we can embrace it as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
This next quote encourages us to free ourselves from the limitations of the past. Don't let yourself be controlled by three things: people, money, or past experience.
This quote encourages us to take ownership of our lives and not let external factors dictate our choices or limit our potential. While it's important to learn from past experiences, we shouldn't allow those experiences to define us or hold us back from pursuing new opportunities.
I think it's so easy to get caught up in the what-ifs and the should-haves of the past, but the past is gone and all we have is the present moment.
This next quote from Roy T. Bennett challenges us to make choices based on our values. Do what is right, not what is easy, nor what is popular.
This quote encourages us to live with integrity, to make choices that are aligned with our principles, even when those choices are unpopular or require us to take the harder path.
It's a reminder that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it.
This next quote from the Dalai Lama offers a different perspective on the pursuit of excellence. The goal is not to be better than the other man, but your previous self.
This quote encourages us to focus on personal growth and self-improvement rather than comparing ourselves to others or striving for external validation.
I think it's so easy to get caught up in the comparison game, especially in today's social media-driven world. We're constantly bombarded with images and stories of other people's seemingly perfect lives.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that those images are often curated and don't reflect the full reality of people's lives. The only comparison that truly matters is the comparison to our own past selves.
This next quote from Mahatma Gandhi emphasizes the power of our actions in shaping the future. The future depends on what you do.
This quote reminds us that we have agency in creating the future. We desire our actions, choices, and habits have a direct impact on the course of our lives and the world around us.
It's a call to action, a reminder that we're not just passive observers in our own lives. We have the power to make choices, to take action, and to create the future we want to see.
This next quote from Zeno emphasizes the importance of active listening in building strong relationships, gaining knowledge, and fostering understanding. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say.
It's a reminder that effective communication involves not just speaking our minds, but also truly hearing and absorbing what others have to say.
I think in today's world where everyone is constantly trying to get their message across, the art of listening is becoming increasingly rare. But it's such an important skill for building trust, empathy, and connection.
This next quote from Jim Rohn offers a simple but powerful formula for achieving our goals. The bigger the why, the easier the how.
This quote emphasizes the importance of having a strong sense of purpose in driving our actions when our goals are aligned with a deep why, a compelling reason that resonates with our values and aspirations. The how becomes easier to figure out.
It's like having a powerful engine propelling us forward. When we're clear about why we're doing something, the obstacles and challenges seem less daunting.
This next quote from Theodore Roosevelt normalizes making mistakes as part of the learning process. The only man who never makes mistakes is the man who never does anything.
This quote encourages us to embrace imperfection and not let the fear of failure hold us back from taking action. Mistakes are inevitable, especially when we're trying new things or stepping outside of our comfort zones.
I think our society often places too much emphasis on perfection, but the reality is that perfection is an illusion. It's in our imperfections, our mistakes, and our failures that we often learn the most valuable lessons.
This next quote from Aristotle emphasizes that our actions repeated consistently over time shape our character and determine our outcomes. We're what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit.
This quote highlights the power of habits in shaping our lives. Excellence is not a one-time event, but rather a result of cultivating positive habits and practicing them consistently.
It's like that saying, sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, sow a character, reap a destiny. Our habits are the building blocks of our lives.
This next quote offers a thought-provoking perspective on what truly matters in life. When a person dies, he leaves his belongings at home, his family at the graveside, and the only thing that accompanies him are his deeds.
This quote reminds us that material possessions and even our relationships with others are temporary. What truly endures are our actions, our contributions to the world, and the impact we have on the lives of others.
It's a powerful reminder to focus on what truly matters in life, to live with integrity, and to make a positive difference in the world.
This next quote from Marcus Aurelius is a call to action. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one.
This quote encourages us to focus on living in alignment with our values, rather than engaging in endless debates or intellectualizing about morality. It's about embodying the qualities we admire and making a positive impact on the world through our actions.
I think it's a reminder that we don't need to wait for the perfect conditions or the perfect set of circumstances to start living a life of purpose and meaning. We can start right now, right where we are.
This next quote from Mahatma Gandhi beautifully captures the balance between embracing the present moment and preparing for the future. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever.
This quote encourages us to live with passion and purpose, making the most of each day while also continuously seeking knowledge and growth.
It's a reminder that life is a precious gift, and we should make the most of every moment.
This next quote from H. Jackson Brown Jr. highlights the importance of taking risks, pursuing our passions, and creating a life that we're proud of. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do.
This quote encourages us to step outside of our comfort zones, to embrace challenges, and to not let fear hold us back from pursuing our dreams.
It's a reminder that regret is a powerful emotion, and it's often the things we didn't do, the chances we didn't take, that haunt us more than our failures.
This final quote from Buddha highlights the ripple effect of our actions, both big and small. One moment can change a day. One day can change a life, and one life can change the world.
This quote is a reminder to be mindful of our choices, to act with kindness and compassion, and to recognize that our actions, however small, have the potential to create positive change in the world.
What a powerful collection of insights. I hope these quotes have inspired you to reflect on your own life, your values, and your aspirations.
Me too. And remember, these quotes are just the starting point. The real journey begins when we take these words to heart and start putting them into action in our own lives.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into 100 life-changing quotes. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge, keep growing, and keep striving to be the best version of yourself.